John Locke then provided the theory of government that 100 years later was taken up by the leaders of the American Revolution and the founders of the U.S. Constitution to justify what they were doing. Locke's ideas were well fitted to the emerging capitalist order, and now that we are in a full-blown capitalist system, how well are they holding up? Well, to repeat some of my arguments, his initial idea, his central idea that mixing your labor with natural resources gave you them a natural property right in them doesn't hold up a lot. But the other argument he makes that private property rights make people more productive does have some validity in capitalist society, at least apparent validity. But then the other part of this for Locke was the caveat that there must be as much and as good left over for other people to access. His theory of private property rights would not have been plausible without that caveat, but how do you fulfill that caveat in a modern world? Thomas Paine, another person of the American Revolutionary generation, he came from Britain, but he lived in America, and he wrote a famous pamphlet, Common Sense, arguing that the colonies should be independent from Britain. And that was a very widely read and influential pamphlet just before the American Revolution, and helped to do a large part of inspiring people to fight in that war. He also wrote another pamphlet, though, 20 years later, and this was called Agrarian Justice, in which he tackled the same questions that Locke had. And what he proposed was an inheritance tax on land that would then fund a guaranteed basic income for everybody, every adult. That idea fits better in a society that's based on money and commercial activities than on growing food for yourself. And it's popped up repeatedly across American history. Most recently, as I'm sure you're aware, it was proposed by Andrew Yang in his 2019-2020 presidential campaign. That's when a lot of people first became aware of this idea, which others had been working on even before Yang. Yang proposes this for a different reason, though. He proposes it as a way to replace the income from people losing jobs to automation. Now, whether he's true or not about automation replacing jobs, I'm not going to go into right now. But I would say, even if it's true, I have two problems with that justification. One is that a basic income doesn't seem enough to compensate someone for a lost job. It seems a lot less to live on. And number two, it seems like a form of charity. Now that you don't have a job, well, we ought to help you out. And this is how we're going to do it, give you a basic income. I think it needs more of a foundation in justice. You just deserve some basic compensation for what you would have been able to get out of nature yourself. You could have, found a place to sleep, drink water, gather some food, hunt, whatever. What serves the purpose of that is having a basic income that, number one, allows you to survive. You have access to a home, water, food, the necessities of life. But then you can make more of that by putting more effort into it. In sum, I think the best justification for a right of private property is that it benefits us all by increasing general productivity, and that wealth should be shared with everybody through a foundation of a basic income, not as a minimal standard, but as the necessary foundation for any other arrangements that are made for a better society in general.